So really quickly before we get into the video where I'm going to break down my experience of The Last of Us 2, I just want to say this is going to be spoilers. Everything is a spoiler alert. If you don't want to watch it, look away now because there's just spoilers after spoilers after spoilers. Even the clip that you guys are looking at right now would be considered spoilers. So this is all just stuff that, this is just assuming you've already played through the game and you want to know someone's opinion on it, or maybe you don't care too much about the spoilers of the story. You just want to know what someone thinks, maybe to consider if you would buy it or not. So this is just a heavy spoiler warning before you get into the video. What's up, YouTube? How's it going? It is your boy Breaks here. Today I've got for y'all a brand new video. And in today's video, I am going to be giving my personal review, my personal opinion and feelings about The Last of Us 2. Now, if you have been watching the channel, if you have been here on the channel recently, you know that I streamed the whole game from beginning to the end, and it took me a very long time because I like to explore, and the game is very, very long. So I'm going to go ahead and go into detail about my experience, what I think the game should be rated from my perspective and my point of view, and overall, what I feel, what I think about this game. So if you guys are excited about that, please do be sure to leave a like on the video and leave a comment in below letting me know what is your opinion on the game. What did you like? What did you dislike? What did you think of the game? And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video. Now, first I'm going to give you guys like an overall number rating, and then I'm going to break that number down and tell you guys what I thought, like what my reasoning was behind that number. So if I had to rate the game overall, I'd probably say the game is like a solid 6 or a 7. And I know a lot of people might not agree with that. That is just my opinion and what I think of the game, how I feel about the game. You guys are entitled to your own opinions, what you think about the game and how you feel about the game. I'm once again going to break down why I think this game was like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And the reason why I say that is, first things first, we're going to talk about the story. Now, I know that's awkward because actually I'm giving the story a very low rating, which it might not make sense because overall I gave the game a pretty decent rating, but the story I'm going to give maybe like a 2-2. like if I have to rate the story, I'm going to say the story is probably like a 3 or a 4 or something like that. Like, it doesn't blow you out of the water. It's not the amazing first story that we got in the first Last of Us. It's really very generic, and it feels like your average PlayStation 4 or Xbox story-based game story. It's not one of these like really, really great stories, and it even feels like they're maybe trying to push a narrative a little bit much in their story, or they're being heavy-handed with how accepting and open they are, which it's not a big deal to me because I don't care really. I've said this many times in the stream. I feel like if your issue with the game is all of the, lesbian stories or themes, or all of the non-traditional female leads that are female leads, then I don't know, it's not a big deal for me. I don't really care. That's not what bothered me about the story. In fact, I was actually a big fan of Abby throughout the whole story. If you've been watching the stream, you know that I was really into the Abby character just because of her aesthetics. I kind of really like muscular girls, so I thought, whoa, Abby's kind of super, super hot. That's pretty cool, man, that they actually put a girl that goes to the gym, works out. I'm into that. I like that. But apart from that, I didn't really mind too much about, the Lev storyline or anything really about, Ellie being, gay. I didn't care if she was gay or she wasn't gay. It didn't matter to me. It didn't change anything to me. It wasn't altering my experience. But what did alter my experience is the story felt like it dragged a little long. It felt like it wasn't that great, like in terms of the feeling you get as a player. Overall, the satisfaction once you finished it was very diminished, very low, because I feel like in the first one, there was this big reveal where Joel saves Ellie, and you're like, whoa, what's going to happen in the next one? What's going to happen when Ellie finds out? Oh my goodness, this is so hype. And I couldn't believe, like, you had this faint idea that he would, but you also still couldn't believe how, like, shocking it was when he did. So in this, there's no big reveal. There's no big surprise. The big reveal of the story for this is at the beginning. and it really didn't feel like a reveal as much as it felt like a betrayal. Now, I'm not against the main character or any main character of a game dying. I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't reduce the quality of the game in my experience or in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I feel like it might even increase the quality of the content. You know, like Game of Thrones, whenever a main character died, it was like this huge grand event, and it was great. It made the story better in a way if told correctly. However, not for season 8 of Game of Thrones. Season 8 of Game of Thrones was really bad, and that's what this story feels like for me. It feels like the season 8 of Game of Thrones, where, I don't know, the creators got lazy, or they just didn't care that much about their story, or maybe they got a little arrogant and confident. I don't know what it was that went wrong with Game of Thrones, but I feel like the same thing went wrong with this game, where something went wrong in the creators' hands in terms of the story, and they just completely botched the story. However, that's it for the story. The story's like a 4, in my opinion. It doesn't blow me away. But what is amazing to me in this game is the graphics, the visual effects. Holy geesh, this game was gorgeous. And not only that, just like the gameplay itself was really, really great. Now, they used a lot of the same mechanics from the first game. So a lot of the same move this, climb on this. You know, the only thing that was really new to interact with was, you know, creaking through the walls, but I didn't feel like that was a big deal, as well as, you know, throwing the rope to climb over the rope or something like that in most situations. That was the only like new thing, so that didn't really blow me away necessarily, but that's not what I'm referring to when I'm referring to gameplay. To me, when I'm referring to like gameplay, where these big events or moments in the game that you yourself as a character get to play through, and it feels like grandiose, and it feels like you're a part of this bigger thing, and it's a great feeling to actually feel like you're a part of the story. So one of those events being like when Ellie killed Nora, that was like, whoa, and it you know, kind of, you know, blew me back a little bit, and it was great. I mean, I saw it coming, I wanted it to happen, I was a part of it, I expected it. So, you know, I wasn't, you know, it was just a great moment to be a part of, as well as like when you're running through the cabins of the Scars, or the Seraphites, whatever you want to call them. They're kind of Scars to me. Those dudes are crazy. So when you're like running through that place, and that place is on fire and it's burning down, and like all this is craziness is happening around you, and you're interacting with it, like those are great moments, in my opinion, that really, really, you know, add to the experience of playing the game. Another amazing moment that I think probably went like missed or forgotten, or was like overshadowed by the fact that a lot of people probably didn't want to experience everything that came after, and that was the very beginning of Abby's story. That for me was great, phenomenal, good storytelling. It gave Abby like a background and made you feel some type of emotional connection to Abby. But then there's this, you know, you're forced to play as Abby for way too long, and she's not necessarily a main character. For anyone who's played the first game and was excited about the second game, Abby is not like a main character. And if you're trying to introduce her as a main character, I think there's a better way to go about it. You wouldn't necessarily drag, you know, all the nonsense that they just dragged on her story. Or if you were going to do that, you would maybe intertwine it more with Ellie's gameplay, so cut back and forth between the two characters throughout the whole game, so you get like different perspectives, rather than feeling like you got all the way to the end as Ellie and then you're not at the end, there's more, and you're forced to play a character that you probably didn't necessarily want to play. But I feel like the very, very beginning, where you find out who Abby's dad is, you find out why Abby's doing what she's doing, that was absolutely great. I love that, and I thought that that was a great moment, as well as you know, experiencing that as a player. That was a great moment. So I feel like all in all, this game had good moments, like good interactable moments that were, you know, high intense. If you watch the stream, I'm sure you've seen me jump back or get shocked or something like that. But I felt like it was probably pigeonholed or held back by its story. So the gameplay was great, but the story was not great. That's overall my opinion of my experience playing this game. It was like marketed as a revenge game, and it was a revenge game that ultimately didn't have any revenge aspects, ultimately didn't let you feel satisfied as a player, like experiencing certain things. So that was the big letdown for the game, in my opinion, was they marketed it so heavily as a revenge story, and it sort of was while you were playing it, but then you get to the end and it doesn't feel like a revenge story, or I don't know, it didn't necessarily feel that way. But if we want to talk about graphics and visual effects, this game really blew me out of the water. The lighting, the way that every single character looked like a real person, they all look like actual people. The motion capture was flawless. It was just really, really good, and that was the thing that kept me going in the story. That was the thing that made me want to play more, was how well done all the character design was, how well done the visuals were. I remember at one point I was playing the game and I saw the stars, or not the stars, but the clouds when it was raining and how foggy it was. And if you look in the distance, you could see where there were no clouds and it was sunny. So it probably wasn't raining over there, but it was raining here. So it was cloudy and foggy and a little bit misty. And I thought that that was mind-blowing to me. I was like, wow, this game is like revolutionary with its graphics. I don't know. It was just so good. I remember talking about that so much while I was playing, was how good the graphics look. How every single time I looked at a character, I thought, wow, that could be an actual human being. Like, that looks like a real person. Doesn't look like a video game character. It wasn't flawless. It wasn't perfect. Like, there are still video game movements where the bodies look stiff of the characters, and that's what makes them feel like actual video game characters. Is they don't feel like they move as fluid as a human moves. But it was still great, and it looked great. So I honestly was blown away by the visual effects of the game. So overall, if I had to rate this game, I would once again give it about a 6 or a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6, just because the story was lacking. It wasn't anything special. However, it didn't really make me mad or upset, which is awkward to say because at some points while I was streaming, I was a little mad, but that's only because I wanted to get to the end, but I didn't get to the end because the dang story was so long. So that was like another gripe I had with the game. But I mean, if I review my experience, I had a really good experience playing the game, and I absolutely loved it and enjoyed it. And I feel like that's all you can really do as a game, is give the player an experience, a good experience. And if you get a good experience, then that's okay. I do still understand why some people might be mad. They might feel betrayed. They might have had a stronger connection to the first story, and they felt like that connection was severed in this game. But I didn't really have too much problems with it. Once again, I would rate it probably like 6 or 7 out of 10. So if you all enjoyed this video, do be sure to leave a like. Let me know in the comment section below what was your opinion on the game. What did you think about the game? Now, I know some people would join the chat and they were just trolls and they were saying awful things for awful reasons, and that's unacceptable. Like I said, I didn't really care too much about anything other than how I felt as a player playing the game. How did the story make me feel, and how did my gameplay make me feel, like the gameplay experience that I got as a player. So the story didn't make me feel too great, but the gameplay experience I had more than so made up for it. It made me feel phenomenal. The gameplay experience was really, really great as a player, in my opinion. Apart from some a reusing of mechanics of the old first game, that didn't bother me too much. You know, I'm okay with some similarities. Like, it should have some similarities to the first game while building upon what the first game made, what made the first game so good. So I'm okay with that, and it doesn't bother me. But I know maybe for some people, the repetition of how you would get around, like moving the stuff, might have bothered them a lot and maybe made them think, oh, this is way too close to the first game. But like I said, it didn't bother me too much, and I probably wasn't one of the people that waited for years and years for this game to come out. I first played the first part last year, whereas I know other people have played it years and years and years ago. So for them, for it to be, I guess, too similar maybe bothered them, or to have to wait so long for a subpar story, it probably bothered them way more than it bothered me. Subpar story was okay if I'm only waiting a year. It felt like an average PlayStation game in terms of story. That didn't bother me. But in terms of gameplay, it felt slightly above average. So I didn't have too much of a problem with that. The graphics were gorgeous. All the faces looked like real people, and that always blew me away. So I just want to know what you guys think. What's your opinion on it? Is it a game that you would play, or are you regretting playing it in the first place? I know a lot of people were mad, but I personally had no issues with the game apart from the issues that I lined out that I told you all here. Anything else was not really a big deal for me. And the gameplay, in my experience, the graphics and the visuals of the game overcompensated for the flaws in the story. So I will catch you all in the next one, and stay tuned for some more videos because more videos are coming to the channel. And I will see you all in the next one.